Hello again. So it's Matthew Dome again. Hopefully you watched the first video I made about the one use of the U theory that shows us the different levels that we need to work on when we explore the transformation of our model of governance. What I'd like to show you now and to take you through now is another use of the U process, of the U theory, to help us think about how do we actually design a process of discernment to get to a new model of organization. Yeah. So yes, if you think about the U, the first video and the U process there, this is more a photography of the different levels at which we need to think and which we need to explore. But it's a photography, yeah. It's set in time. Now, what I'm going to show you now, it's more about how we go about engaging with these issues and really engaging with that discernment process. So again, I'm going to share my screen and take you through that. And basically what the U process says when we use it this way, and by the way, why is it called U? Well, because we're using a shape, this arrow shape that looks like a U. So that's what we're using. We're calling it the U process. Usually, we're starting with a question, which is, well, what should we do? In this case, it's, we could say, well, what's the new governance model that we need to have? And then the temptation is to dive straight into conversations that will say, well, let's do this. Let's have a new governance model that looks like this or that looks like that. This is what I call going straight into solutions. When we use the U process, this is what we also call jumping the U, yeah, jumping across the U. As you can see, the question is on the left, and straight away we're trying to go straight to the right. Now, this is not, this is not the process that we should use, yeah? And instead of doing that, what the U process suggests is that there are three phases really that we need to enter in a specific order. The first one is we need to sense the reality. We need to dive into the lived experience and understand what's being lived at the moment. And in what's being lived at the moment, what works well and what doesn't work well. Why are we saying we need a new governance model? What are the lived experiences that are showing us the limits of the current model? Where are those limits? What are they about? Are they issues at community level, provincial level, general level, the relationship between the three levels? Are they about the way we discern and make choices? Where are they? So we sense the reality and we build together a collective picture of that reality. Then what we then do is we make present our collective intention. Yeah, so we ask ourselves, for what are we being invited to here? What is God calling us to? If what we want is to enable more life and vitality for the mission of our institute, what is this collective picture pointing to that we need to do differently? And once we've connected to that collective intention and we've crystallized a new form for a model of governance, then we can action plan. Yeah, we can start implementing the new model. So we can design it in more details and then implemented. So if we look in more details, there's 3 phases. What does sensing reality means? Well, it means we sense the system, and also we sense the ecosystem. So the system is your congregation, how it functions, how it's organized in units, etc. The way it works inside the demographics in your units, and then the ecosystems. Yeah, where are you in the world? What are the big issues in the world around you, and where might be the strongest needs for your charism in the world? Yeah, where also is there life and vitality and new members coming to your congregation, and where might not there be, etc. Yeah? Now, this kind of exploration with the new process is, of course, requiring us to engage with an open mind. So opening up to other realities than the one we're used to, but it's also about opening up our hearts, yeah? And by that, I mean connecting to other realities, not just with the head, but with the heart, with empathy, trying to understand what it's like to live in that other reality. And beginning to understand not just rationally, but in a more holistic way, what the reality is. Now, there's a phase, once we've looked at the emerging picture, once we've sensed reality, there's a question to ask ourselves before we move into the making present. It's a phase of letting go, what I also like to call the phase of kenosis. Yeah, so what do we need to let go? What do we need to empty ourselves of? And it can be thoughts, feelings, desires, mental models, hopes for the future that we need to grieve. And it may be more substantial things such as buildings, communities, works, etc., even units sometimes. But the collective picture will point to the things that you need to let go of. And it's important to name these before you move into, well, what's the new that can come through for the future? Because if you don't make space for the new and you just expect the new to come and pile up on what's already existing, it will not work. Yeah? So we need to make room for the new. That's the making present. And some of the questions we ask ourselves there is, who are we together? What's this collective picture saying of who we are together? What is God calling us to? And what do we want to do together, having heard what we feel God is calling us to? Now, this will help you even more if you're engaged in an open will. If you open your will to this reality, what's the Ignatian approach might say, inner freedom, interior freedom. Yeah, if you're or they might even call it indifference. Yeah, if you don't stay attached to things and you really open yourself up to the will of God, what does God want for us in this emerging reality? Things will come through, and open will is about letting come, the new that wants to come through, and this will then help you really crystallize the kind of future model of governance that's going to be fit for your purpose. And linking to the other videos, the model of governance, the level of mental models, intention, role-taking processes, structures, etc. But the new model will crystallize in that way, and then you can implement it. So as you can see, I didn't put any dates on this new process, but if we go back to the beginning, yeah, what should we do? Well, instead of jumping the U, we really go down a discernment process. Well, that first phase, the sensing reality phase, takes a few weeks, sometimes it takes a few months to do. Ideally, you can do that in the communities, or if you're doing it in a workshops, well, it will take a substantial part initially in your workshop. Yeah? So if it's a 3-day workshop, it might take the first day, day and a half. But you need to start with that time of painting together the picture of the lived reality. Once you've done that, then you enter another time of really connecting to what we need to let go of, and then what's the new that's birthing, that's asking to come through. Yeah. And again, in a workshop, that will be the following day or half day or whatever. And then if you're in a workshop of a 3-day workshop, then the third day will be more the realizing. But that's if you're doing a workshop. Now, what you might want to do is to involve more people, in which case you need to space this out over weeks where you initiate conversation that involve all the members potentially in the community through conversations. Then you involve them and you collect and harvest what the fruit of those conversations, of this sensing, so that you can then move to a making present, a presencing phase. Last thing I want to add, before I end this video, is that the sensing, the opening up of the mind and the heart, is about, of course, acquiring a new perspective. Yeah, so broadening out our perspective of the reality rather than staying focused on what we know because of where we are. But it's also, and very much, as well as gathering all this new data and this new mental and emotional understanding, it's also very much about allowing yourself to be moved by what you're discovering, to be moved, to be displaced, sometimes even disturbed. Yeah, because those realities you will discover, maybe they're challenging your own thinking, they're challenging your own mental models, they're surfacing issues that you didn't know about or you preferred not to know about, or whatever. But if they're part of the reality, you need to connect to them. Otherwise, the discernment will not be appropriate. So part of the sensing needs to be very much about allowing ourselves to be moved, to be displaced, and sometimes to be disturbed by what comes up. Hold it together, and then work with it. Okay, so that's the other use of the U process that describes much more the process itself over days or weeks, rather than just a photography of the areas to explore. I hope that was useful, and we'll meet certainly during the Leadership Conference in April. All the best in the meantime. Bye-bye.